All right, folks, here we go with the notes for Chapter 9, talking about marketing in media outlets. And by way of introduction, we need to understand that a business that understands the importance of marketing is going to have two related goals. First off, to generate new customers and to serve current customers. Makes sense, kind of obvious. The way that we get money into any business is for those to patronize us, and we want to hold on to clients that we have and keep good relations with those, but we also want to be able to create new business and new clients to be able to grow and develop relationships with. So to accomplish these goals, firms must be profitable to stay in business. Again, that's kind of an obvious thing. We can't serve our clients and provide them with what they need if we don't have the funding to back up what we're doing. For successful marketing to occur, companies must be internally organized around common goals and objectives. We've talked about this in previous chapters, the idea of a company having a vision or a mission for the company as a whole, and for each department to have its own mission in light of the overall company vision. Let's talk about the 4 P's of marketing: the product, the pricing, the place, and the promotion. Those are the 4 P's. First off, product. Product consists of the actual good produced for customers as well as the packaging of the product. So the actual element, the actual item. We can think about this in terms of things that we buy that we can physically touch and see and feel and experience, but it's also true of the non-tangibles. In our case, in media, it's going to be the programming content, but more so the audiences that we provide for customers. The success or popularity of a program is going to be assessed through audience ratings. That's the proof of the value of the product that we have, how high our ratings are, and especially to certain advertising prospects, the certain demographics to which those ratings represent. Products change over time as audience needs change, affecting program genres. That's basically saying that we have an evolving sort of service that we provide in terms of what audiences are going to be attracted to. So as those tastes change over time, whether it's because of new content that's out there or changes in the way that people think or act within the culture, it's an ever-evolving sort of thing that we have to continually keep tabs on. Managers make pricing decisions regarding advertising sales and charge for services such as distribution of multi-channel video like cable and satellite and telco and internet. So in these sorts of ways, we are looking at the revenue that is being taken in, and we're trying to price that in sort of a way that we do earn a profit, but also is competitive compared to what the competition has, and also what's going to be an attractive price for the prospective advertiser. And hopefully we're also doing that in terms of some of the subscription fees that various services will charge to consumers that do pay outright for the services they consume. Thirdly, place. Place is both the physical location at which the product is actually sold and the steps taken to distribute the product. So we're talking about traditional broadcasting versus new media, for example. Each of them is going to have a different look and feel in the storefront experience, as you will, and the way that people quote unquote window shop also is going to be different. The ways that our audiences interact with those media, and therefore what our prospective advertisers can expect as a result. Finally, promotion. Promotion is a combination of activities to promote both awareness among consumers and the actual selling of products. Electronic and digital media serve the needs of many businesses by offering access to audiences through the sale of advertising. It's a big one for us, and what we think of as the main way that media outlets are going to generate revenue. In turn, the electronic media use on-air promotion and their websites and digital platforms, as well as advertising in other media, to be able to attract audiences to their products. And it can be in terms of traditional advertising, like newspapers, billboards, all that sort of thing. Also using social media, word of mouth, in order to try to engage with audiences and to engage with prospects to get them to be able to respond to us in a more direct manner than in terms of how we normally think of response in terms of more traditional media. Personnel in electronic and digital media marketing. Most marketing tasks are coordinated across two different units, the sales department and the promotions department. The general sales manager is a mid-level manager who supervises the sales department. Usually a single mid-level manager supervises the promotions, or what's sometimes called the creative services department. Sometimes these two departments are separate from each other, where creative services tends to be more about the on-air presence, such as commercial production and production of station promos and things of that nature. Sometimes creative services is lumped in with promotions, which we generally think of promotions as more as the teams that go out and about in the communities and do various types of promotional things that aren't necessarily tied in directly to on-air promotion. So these two departments might be one and the same, or they may be two different entities. Because each area tends to overemphasize the importance of its individual unit, conflicts often arise, particularly between areas like sales and programming. It is not uncommon for there to be some differences in opinion on how things should operate and whose needs are more important or more vital to the continued operation of a media outlet. Programmers are quick to point out that it is the content that draws audiences, which in turn attracts advertisers. Because if you have the audience, the advertisers are going to be attracted towards reaching that audience. However, sales departments argue that advertising generates the revenues that pay for the content, as well as salaries and operations and all of that sort of thing. So it is this ongoing bickering that happens between these two and trying to come up with some sort of a compromise that works well in terms of helping sales to be able to meet their needs and helping programming and operations be able to do what they need to do, and for the two to be able to work in some sort of harmonious sort of way. But that takes a certain understanding of each other's departments and a certain healthy respect in order for that to happen. So they have to work together and try to put forward an action plan that is going to be mutually beneficial to both departments and, more importantly, to the organization as a whole. Marketing involves a wide range of managerial responsibilities, such as strategic planning, targeting of specific audiences, design of advertising and promotional campaigns, and the extension of the organization's brand. All of these things are involved in the way that a company promotes itself, gets its name out there, and creates this sort of recognition and reputation within a community in order to prove itself to be a viable option for audiences and for advertisers. So marketing strategies. The goal of segmentation is to identify segments not currently served and to develop products to meet their needs. So we've talked about this in different ways when we've talked about different formats and certain niche audiences and things like that. And segmentation is the process by which we do those sorts of things. To be effective, a segment must be measurable. You have to be able to know how many people you are reaching in that segmentation. and to be able to define that segmentation in a numeric sort of way. You have to have a large enough segment to be profitable. You can go too niche, and while perhaps providing a great service for the audience, it might not be saleable. Finally, the segment must be reachable. They have to know you exist and go to you to consume the content that you are providing. Some examples of segmentation include niche formats in radio, going from not just having country music, for example, but playing new country versus classic country, those sorts of things. Television has channels that target specific demographics and interest. Traditionally, that has been more the realm of cable television, but we're seeing that more on broadcast TV as well, with some of the various sub-channels that are available via antennas. And even the networks themselves are doing certain segmentation, if not as a whole for the network, kind of like the CW does in trying to reach younger audiences, but they may do segmentation on certain nights with the lineup of programming they have on Monday versus Wednesday versus Saturday. Internet, another example of segmentation with internet. Well, there's countless examples of the way that internet does segmentation. This is where those sub-niche formats can really thrive because the potential audience is as high as the population of the world is, at least the population of the world that has access to the internet. With a marketing strategy of positioning, the product must be presented clearly to the consumer. For media organizations, positioning builds on a clear identity, that is, the company brand, in the marketplace, and establishes differences from competitors. In other words, why your company and not someone else's? What makes your company unique? What makes your company better? What makes your company attractive for me to consume content? Or what makes your company unique in such a way that I'm attracted as a potential advertising client? Positioning in the electronic media requires an objective analysis of the market, the number of competitors and their marketing strategies, and a thorough internal analysis of all areas of operation. You have to look at what's going on around and about you, and you also have to take a look at what's happening inside your walls. And in that sort of way, you have to be able to take that and position yourself and honestly answer that question, who are you? And when you answer the question, who are you, it better helps you answer the question, who are you compared to others, and why are you unique or different or better or what have you? Thirdly, branding. Branding differentiates products, goods, and services. Both intangible and intangible values work together to create an image of a product in the mind of the consumer. So we're talking about the looks and the feels, but we're also kind of talking about the reputation, the psychology of things that go on, which really brings up the reputation aspect of things. Branding triggers both emotive and rational responses in people. When we see a logo, we have these sort of reflexes from seeing that logo. We automatically think of a certain association with a company, may even go as far to have a certain association with an experience we've had with that company or the products of that company. So it does create in the mind of the consumer this sort of emotional response, and this response that is reflexive in a sort of way that causes us to react and do one thing or another. Brand image is influenced by many factors, including the product, the packaging, the name, the price, advertising, promotion, the method of distribution. All of those things are going to be elements into how we think of a brand, whether we think of it positively or negatively. Sometimes it has nothing to do with the quality of the product, if perhaps the service that goes with the product is not as good. Sometimes the service could be great, but the product itself is terrible. Perhaps there's an issue with troubleshooting if it's hard to get answers to problems that you may have or concerns that you have, that can also damage the branding reputation of a particular company. So all those things need to be considered. So these three marketing strategies, segmentation, positioning, and branding, they're going to form the basis for a basic marketing plan. Segmentation requires analyzing a market to identify underserved audiences. Positioning fills the needs of that audience. And then branding establishes unique selling points for the audience to differentiate one entity from its competitors. All three of those things have to be able to work in a synchronous sort of fashion in order to effectively make marketing efforts a success. Segmentation, positioning, and branding. Now, we've been talking a lot about marketing, and I think many times we tend to think of marketing as just sales, but there is a differentiation. When we talk about marketing, it's more than just selling. As we look at it from the media perspective, as the number of stations and channels have grown over the years, competition for audiences have intensified. Therefore, to maintain a competitive position, companies had to shift from a sales-oriented philosophy to a marketing-oriented philosophy. It's no longer just the idea of back in the day of it was basically just the big three television networks, and if you were going to advertise on television, you had to choose one of the three. And because there were only three choices, the vast majority of American audiences were going to be watching one of those three channels, so you had a pretty decent shot at capturing the attention of a significant portion of the population. Now, with so many choices, there's not that guarantee anymore. So you now have to not just say, we have people, y'all come. We have to instead provide some of these unique selling points and some of these branding and reputation things that we have been talking about in order to make ourselves look attractive to a prospective advertising client. Understanding clients and their needs, the key difference between a selling and a marketing orientation is the genuine recognition and goal of serving the client's needs. Very, very important. A sales-oriented approach focuses on the product. That is, we have advertising time. You want to buy some advertising time. That's pretty much sales. A marketing-oriented approach is designed to help clients meet the goals and objectives of their businesses. That is, serving the needs of the client. More than likely, it's not the idea that an advertising client wants to buy advertising for the sake of buying advertising. They can think of better things to do with their money, but they see advertising as an investment in their company in order to achieve some sort of effect, whether it's to increase their customer base, to increase their sales numbers, to create brand awareness for their own marketing purposes, whatever the case may be. So the companies that are thinking about advertising have some sort of a problem that they need to solve, and they see advertising as a potential solution to that problem. So the successful media outlet is going to be able to take advantage of that and help the prospective advertising client understand how their particular media outlet can help them solve their problem, to put together an advertising campaign that's going to reach a particular audience, to make them aware that the company exists and that certain things are going on within that company that may be something that the audience is interested in, and therefore respond by either going to that business or calling that business, or even hopefully ultimately making some sort of a transaction with that business. So that's the difference between sales and marketing. It's more about not just selling the good or service that we have, but it's selling the good and service in such a way that we first appealed to the one that's prospectively doing the buying and helping them to see that we are the answer to a particular problem that they have. And we talk a lot more about that when you take the broadcast sales class, but that's kind of the basics of what we look at from a media sales, media marketing perspective. With that, we're going to take a break, and we will continue on as we go through the notes. Part B is the next video.